Lawrence Blanco of CLSA is now joining in to talk levels and his big call. Lawrence, great to have you with us here. Good morning. You're saying in your latest note that while the Nifty is likely to be ranged, for the mid-cap index, you are seeing and projecting, much greater gains. Could you explain what you're seeing on the mid-cap index straight away, Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. First is if you look at the absolute price action for the Nifty mid-caps, this is the first of the key indices that we track in India that's cleared through the highs that you made back into 2021 as well as 2022. So we've got a sort of confirmed breakouts with the momentum indicators rising with that. So we think at a minimum we've got 13% upside, but we have upside targets extending towards sort of 24% type gain. So we think that that's an important breakout that we've seen in the broader market. And then if you're looking at the mid-cap index relative to the top 50 stocks, you've seen that relative price action breakout of a 18-month consolidation pattern. So basically it just has the mid-caps as a leading part of the Indian market to the upside. And that's where we think investors should focus for outperformance going forward.
Okay, so mid-caps are now a leading part of the Indian market, and viewers and, traders, investors should focus on that area. Got it. Lawrence, hi, good morning. Where does the Nifty stand? Because this 18,600 mark has proven to be a bit of a resistance for a while. Are you seeing that get taken out anytime soon?
We think ultimately it will be taken out. But if we look at in the near term, so talking over about a month to 2 months, we've got the Indian bank sector, which is testing its highs from late 22, and we've seen some slowing upside there. So looking for a bit of a pause in the Indian banks. And then if you look at the other large cap sector being the IT sector, that's still in the trading range post last year's 30% decline. So taking those two major sectors into account, it looks like the Nifty will battle to get through this 18,800 area in the short term. So look for more of a consolidation pattern there while mid-caps continue to gain the attention.
All right. Hi, Lawrence. Good morning. What about individual stocks and sectors? I recall you were quite bullish on SBI on the charts earlier, and also on the real estate index, if I got that correct. Anything else you're looking at in terms of stocks or sectors here in India?
Yeah, so just remember the Nifty banks is one of our key sectors for the long-term leadership within the Indian market. But as I just mentioned earlier, in the short term, we have seen the Nifty banks advance off the lows from earlier this year, stalling at resistance currently. So we're seeing a bit of a pause. We still like the longer-term setup of State Bank of India. But in the very near term, both SBI as well as the Nifty banks index is expected to do a bit of time consolidating the gains that we've seen there before we get a fresh breakout. Longer term, though, that's a sector that we think remains leadership. And yes, we have seen some important breakouts on the property side. Not that it's a major weighting within the broader market, but that's another sector where we see we can get leadership from on a longer term basis.
Right, real estate continues to be on your radar. Lawrence, within mid-caps, talk to us about, say, 4 or 5 top ideas there where you're seeing these breakouts, which will lead the mid-cap index up, 13% first, and as you said, 24% off, in total. Go on.
Yeah, I have to talk about sector specifics rather than individual stocks. So, if you break it down, there's a lot of autos within the mid-cap space that we've seen breakouts and some leadership there, and some of the financial services which have lagged. We're getting some breakouts from those two. So if I'm looking at subsectors within mid-caps, the autos and the financial services is where we're getting new breakouts that has leadership within the mid-cap space.
Okay, so autos and financial services is where you said there is leadership in the mid-cap space. Got it. And from the frontliners, although we might be in this range for a while, and there could be perhaps what people are calling a time-wise correction, where do you see the outperformance come through from in terms of sectors? You spoke briefly about how banks and IT are still lagging behind a bit, but any other pockets where you see an outperformance come through?
Yeah. So just to be clear, banks on the longer term side, we think is a key leader for the Nifty itself. And to get through the 18,800 area, we think that will be led by an ultimate breakout in the bank sector. But we don't think that happens in the short term focus on the mid-cap space. We don't think IT will be a driver to the upside. We see that more of a range-bound sector. We've mentioned property. That's another sector where we can see some leadership coming from at the end of the day. And on the other side of that, a sector to continue to avoid, we think, is the pharmaceutical space, which at best is range bound. So that's how I'd sort of square it up, looking at underlying sectors for the market.
All right, Lawrence, what about the mother market, the US market? We're seeing broadening of the rally, which could be good news for the US investors. But we out here look at the headline index, and we get some leadership from there. How do you see, say, the NASDAQ perform? I mean, it's been a big performer. I think it's up close to around 25-30% in the last 1 year or so. What's the level you're looking at out there, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, if any levels on both of them?
Yeah, so the NASDAQ, we're basically looking at the February and March 2022 highs as a next resistance zone, which I think is up at the 15,300 to 15,500 area. In the short term, though, we are starting to see some signs of fatigue. For the NASDAQ's move, we had a bearish engulfing day last week, and what that means is, you open at the highs, but you closed at the session's lows, which gives an indication that you've seen a build-up in selling pressure after that initial high. So look for a bit of a pause and a pullback. But we see the 50-day as a key support for the NASDAQ's uptrend. But like you said earlier, I think the interesting piece of action in the US over the past 10 sessions has basically been this rotation into laggards. So you've seen Russell 2000, but more importantly, you've seen some stability in financials, industrials, and the metals and mining sides. And getting some stability in those sectors has actually seen the breadth indicators improve. To give you an idea, 2 weeks ago, we had the percentage of stocks above their 10-day moving average sitting around 25%, and that's now moved up sharply towards the 88% area. So you can see how just some other sectors starting to participate, how those breadth readings can improve quickly over a short space of time. And I think that does improve the support levels for the market and also the uptrend that we've seen currently play out.
Lawrence, just one last question before we let you go. You said in the mid-cap space, autos is something that you like. Does that hold true for the frontliners as well? I ask because, this year, the biggest gainers have been the likes of Tata Motors, up almost 50%. Is there more to go in such names?
Well, again, I would focus in on the mid-cap names rather than the large-cap leadership names, which have led this year. So, again, I think the mid-cap auto names should start to outperform the large cap names as they pause and consolidate the gains that they've made this year. So again, look down to the mid-cap names for that leadership in the short term at least.
All right. Lawrence, this call on mid-caps and the ranged price action for the Nifty, this should play out over what period of time? And I mean, beyond this, what's your prognosis? Slightly looking ahead.
Well, again, if we just take it at the broader Nifty,
I think we have the line.
We think this trading range does start, and we talked about targets of 21,000 and more for the Nifty itself. I mean, the time horizons are always tricky, but if you look at the rotation that we've seen between sectors globally and within the local market, they typically last between 1 to 2 quarters, and then you start to see the reverse rotation occur from that. So the current mid-cap side, we think, is leadership for at least a quarter, if not 2 quarters, before the Nifty can break out of its trading range.
All right. Fair enough. Thanks very much, Lawrence. Great speaking with you here on CNBC TV 18. It's a pleasure to hear your thoughts. Well, mid-caps will continue to rally even for the time being in the near term, a quarter, as Lawrence pointed out, in terms of time frames. The Nifty remains ranged. We'll take a quick commercial break here. We are back. Our top stocks to watch out for with our research team coming up in just a bit.